Romans chapter 10, verse 1, it says, "Brothers, my heart's desire and prayer to God is for Israel, that they may be saved." I'm reading from the New International Version, just in case you didn't know that. "For I can testify about them that they are zealous for God, but their zeal is not based on knowledge, since they did not know the righteousness that comes from God and sought to establish their own. They did not submit to God's righteousness. Christ is the end of the law, so that may be righteousness for everyone who believes." And he's going back to this whole idea that if you're going to have salvation, it is not by works of righteousness that we have done, but it's according to his mercy, that the righteousness that we have is by faith in Jesus Christ. And it's a righteousness that comes from him. It's trusting in Jesus' righteousness. It's trusting in his death, burial, and resurrection. It's his blood covering us, and the fact that we go before God and we say, we're guilty. We're not righteous. We're not living a life that's pleasing to God. God cleanse us from that. We need Jesus. We need his salvation. And by faith, accepting his righteousness that comes from him. Verse 5 says, "Moses described in this way righteousness that is by the law. The man who does those things will live by them, but the righteousness that is by faith," he says, "do not say in your heart who will ascend to heaven." That is to bring Christ down. Or who will descend to the depths? That is to bring Christ up from the deep. But what does it say? The word is nigh you. It is in your mouth. It is in your heart. That is the word of faith that we proclaim. And again, going back to the idea of it's by faith that we're saved, not of works. It's by faith. And that's a real stumbling block for a lot of people to accept, because there's many people that they want to maybe clean up their lives before they come to the Lord. Oh, God's not going to accept me the way I am. I have to stop this. I got to do this. I got to go. No, you just come to him as you are. Or they may think that, well, I can't be a follower of Christ because I'm too bad. I'm doing too many bad things. I just can't. No, it's not about you. It's about him. And it's by faith. Accept it. Accept that he did it. Accept that you can't do it. And accept that salvation and that righteousness that comes from him. And then you're able to find that many of these things will start falling by the wayside. I know individuals that, were so strung out on like heroin and, going out so stoned on their motorcycle and watching their spouse get killed as they got thrown into a grill of a car and just horrible. Go rob a gas station. This is just one individual I'm thinking of. Rob the gas station and comes out and then try to cover up what he did and set someone's house on fire and all this kind of stuff. And now, perfectly clean, serving the Lord, walking and helping people that are living on the streets and in the living outside with homeless people and things like that, and has a place where he's helping people. It's amazing what God can do when you let him do it. And then it goes on, and this is one of the things I want to focus in on right here, is where it says that he says the word is nigh you, even in your mouth. So it's something you need to speak forth. And then verse 9, and this is the one I want to focus in on, that if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you confess and are saved. And so here, this is one of those great ones, in Romans. I've talked about Romans Road when we first started looking at Romans. This is one of those that will be taught to individuals to be able to share with someone else when you're talking about salvation. Confessing with your mouth Jesus as Lord, and believing in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, and you're going to be saved. And it kind of just breaks down the whole idea of salvation into a simple sentence, basically. This is it. Now, confessing Jesus as Lord is more than just words of your mouth. It's a little more than that. There's a little more power in that. And what I mean by that is, there's individuals that can say, here's some just crazy lunatic that talks about Jesus or talks about God or something, and they go do crazy things, and they're doing things that are obviously against God. There's people like that out there. Sometimes they have words that sound. There's individuals like Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons that change who God is, change who Jesus is, and they may talk about Jesus as Lord, but they're not really accepting him as he is. And confessing Jesus as Lord is more than just that thing, saying Jesus is Lord, but it's letting Jesus be Lord of the very words you say. one of the ways that we confess Jesus is Lord is that we change the way that we talk. We start to look at ways that we can edify other people. We start to look at ways that we can encourage other people. We start to look at ways that we can say things that are pleasing to God. We start to watch the way we speak. It's like the idea of using God's name in vain. Using God's name in vain is not just saying GD this or GD that or something like that. That's one way you could do it. But another way is to claim that you know God, claim that you're doing something for God, and do something that's totally opposite of the way God would be. If you're going to say you're a Christian, you should live a life that's pleasing to Him. You should be moving toward that. You should be working on the way you talk. You should be working on the things you do. It's not that we're going to be perfect. It's not that we're going to do everything right. We all fail. Amen. I got to start. Sylvia's here, so I have to raise my hand first. We all make mistakes. We all make bad decisions. We all do that. But we keep moving toward. We press on to the mark of the prize of the high calling of Christ. We fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, and we know which way we're going. And so confessing Jesus as Lord, and more than just saying, oh, Jesus is Lord. Yeah, you're gonna start changing the way you talk. Instead of looking at someone that's done you wrong and saying, oh, they did it because of this, and they did it because of that, and that person is so bad, and that teacher is just of the devil, and all these types of things. We start changing the way we talk, and we start saying things that are more pleasing. And we start looking at ways that we can encourage someone and lift someone up. And as I think about the power of our words and the way words can affect things, it's really interesting things. I thought of several different things this week. One of the things I saw was, and it was really interesting to watch. I was at Walmart, and there was a gentleman at the checkout that obviously had some intellectual disabilities, and because I work with individuals like that all the time, it's a little easy to see, and it wasn't too unobvious, but the checker was a younger person that's kind of wasn't real adequate in what they were doing, maybe newer at what they were doing, and they were trying to help. And he bought this box of something, and she tried to put it in the bag, and it was kind of big for the bag, and then she was trying to find a bigger bag, and he's like, no, I don't want that because I'm going to be on the bicycle, so I don't want that. And she's trying to help him, but he's getting a little bit annoyed that she's asking questions because he's just wanting to try to pay and stuff. So anyway, he gets through it all and he pays it all, and she's looking at that little bag that's the box is in, and she's thinking, man, that thing's gonna break. I really need to try to get him at least another bag around it. And she's like, are you sure that's gonna be okay? But he didn't hear her, and he was focusing on putting his money in. And she's like, sir, are you sure that that's going to be all right like that? Do you want some? And he didn't hear her again, and he starts to walk away, and she's really concerned about the fact that he said he was on a bicycle and stuff, and she was really concerned about the fact that, well, that might break out of that bag. So she kind of stops him as he's walking on. She's like, sir, are you sure that's going to be okay? And he got mad at her for stopping him. Didn't really understand what she was saying. And it's just like, and he leaves. And then she's all like, just feeling really bad and down. She's like, oh, I was only trying to, she's like, oh, what's he all mad about, And as an outside observer, I'm seeing what's going on. She's just trying to do what she can. She don't know that trying to stop him is going to bother him. I could see that. I wouldn't have stopped him, but she didn't know. She was concerned. And then he's like not understanding what she's doing, and now she's mad, or he's mad. So now this guy's mad. She's all upset. And they were both basically trying to do good things. And it's amazing how sometimes in our lives, misunderstandings, not reading the situation right, can lead to anger, bitterness, sadness, confusion. And I tried to encourage her, hey, just try to do what you could, it's all right, but at that point she wasn't even listening to me because she was still focused on what happened and running through it in her head. And that's another thing that can happen with words. Sometimes we run it through our head and change what it is. I used to work with an individual, and I didn't realize it until one day I was there and I was working on something. The individual was talking to someone else, and I heard the whole conversation. And it wasn't like a private conversation or anything. It was just something I wasn't involved in, but I was right there and I heard the whole conversation. So the individual came to me after they were talking to this other person, had shared the conversation with me, and it was pretty much the same conversation. I was like, yeah. Well, a little bit later in the day, they came and talked to me about the conversation, and it had changed quite a bit from the original conversation that I heard. And I'm like, well, that's not what they said. And then a little bit later in the day, by the end of the day, when they talked about the conversation they had, it was a totally different conversation than what they had. Because in their mind, they kept playing it over, and they were changing the words that they heard. The words they heard in their mind was not the words their ear heard, because my ear heard the same words, and they were changing it. And throughout the day, they just kept changing it and changing it and changing it. And we have to be careful in our lives that we don't let our mind change what our ear's hearing. We need to be really sensitive. And even when God's speaking to us, say, God, what are you trying to say to us? How does this affect me? Because God will use other people to talk to us. God will use radios and commercials and billboards. You're going to be amazed at how God can speak to us in so many different ways. I mean, and it's really cool, you know, when you're looking for something and you're just waiting for some confirmation or something, and God can do it in so many different ways. And as we fix our minds and help control the way we think and the way we're listening, it also helps the way that we speak. And it's really important, because as God created everything with his words, in the same way we can help create different kinds of atmospheres around us, different kinds of things. And it's not so much that, you know, this name it, claim it, blab it, grab it, call it, haul it kind of idea. It's not so much that, but it's more the ability to kind of change the atmosphere around us. Yeah, you ever have that happen? Is there any individuals you've ever met or known that if they came into the room, all of a sudden the atmosphere in the room just kind of changes? A lot of them, it's for a negative way. You know, we can do that for a positive way. We can be individuals that are speaking words of encouragement, that are always there, uplifting, that are always, or you meet somebody and you just know they're going to hit you with some kind of thing. You know, they're going to be complaining, they're going to be arguing, they're going to be yelling, they're going to be talking about you, and you're just like, man, I don't even want to be by that person. And it's not necessarily what they quote unquote do per se, but it's because of the way they talk. And it's because of the way you know they're going to talk, or they're gossips and they're backbiters. And you're just like, well, we can be the opposite of that. We can be the one that brings encouragement. We can be the one that when someone sees us, they're like, oh, you know what? They're going to pray for us if I come to them and let them know I'm struggling with something. You know, that's the one that's going to let me know that, hey, I can do this thing that I'm thinking, you know, I don't know if I can do it or not. Facing a transition in my life. That's the person I want to talk to. We can be that kind of person. We can be the one that brings that edification, exhortation, and comfort. You know, I'm sad. Oh, I know who I'm going to call. I'm going to call Vicky. She'll always make me happy. You know, it's awesome.